Right, hello everyone, and welcome to today's final session at the InnoFact Show. We are here to discuss the case study, Business Resilience and Rebound, the challenges and the opportunities for businesses rebounding from COVID. I'm your host, Calvin Taloki, CEO of RevPar Media. I spent almost 20 years in hotels. I have since pivoted into starting a social media agency. And I'm here to discuss with this lovely panel. We have Mark Dorr. Mark, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. My name is Mark Dorr. Glad to be here. I'm the president of the New York State Hospitality and Tourism Association. We are based in New York State, in the capital, which is Albany, New York. We represent over 1,000 members, and 95% of those are hotels. We also have a segment of amusement parks and attractions, and we also work very closely with the state's destination marketing organizations. And for those of you who aren't aware, those are the folks that are charged with marketing and promoting our 11 tourism regions throughout New York State. And in turn, those folks enter the state, they stay in hotels, they go to the museums, they stay they go to restaurants. So we represent the tourism industry here in the state of New York, and our number one mission is legislative advocacy, as well as trying to market and promote our great state.
All right. And Laura?
Thank you, Calvin. Very happy to be here as well. My name is Lara Baman. I work for IFMA, the International Facilities Management Association, where I am the EMEA director. I am based in Belgium. And we at IFMA, we are representing the facility management professionals worldwide. We are a global individual members association with about 24,000 members in 106 countries worldwide. Obviously, facility management is also about hospitality and bringing services to our clients, whether these are external or internal clients. So excited to be here.
All right. Well, we're excited to have you and excited to get started here. Before we do, just to let you guys know here in the meeting, we will be taking some question and answer towards the end of the show. So please feel free to send those in and we'll get to those at the end. But we're going to get started. Obviously, number one, the industry is facing quite a few challenges. And most places, as we mentioned, I'm in Los Angeles, Mark is in New York, Laura's in Belgium. Every destination's on a different time scale here for reopening and restrictions being lifted. Los Angeles in about a week will be completely open. But as these restrictions are being lifted and people are returning to traveling, what do you feel are the major challenges that you see facing the industry? Mark, we'll start with you.
Sure. The major challenges, as we see it, there are really two. The first one being feeling safe. Feeling that the virus is under control, people are vaccinated, and that people are going to be able to safely go out to dinner, stay in a hotel, go to an amusement park. Here in New York State, our infection rate, I believe, is about 0.4%, which is, half of 1%. So our governor, Cuomo, came out yesterday and said that when 70% of our state is vaccinated, the adults, we will basically fully open up, except if you're going to do a concert in a big venue that's indoors. Right now, our state vaccination rate is 68.5. So we need 1.5%. And so in the next couple of days, they're trying to incentivize people to do that. As everybody's read in the news, New York was just a disaster area last April, March, when everything started. So I think it's the confidence is the number one thing, to go out and say, I'm confident I'm going to be safe. I can go out to eat. Today, for example, I was at a meeting with 20 other hoteliers here in New York. Everybody was vaccinated, no masks. Everybody had a lunch. It was really refreshing to do that. It's been the first time we've gotten together in 16 months. So the confidence to go out and participate in tourism. And the second one is just having the employees and being available to have a great experience. That's the biggest thing that we have found, is there aren't enough people that are willing to go out and work. So if you're a restaurant, you maybe only open half of your restaurant. If you're a hotel, you might have a couple of floors that you're not going to open up because you don't have enough people to clean the room. So that, looking forward, it's having a confidence and then getting the employees back so that people can have a great travel experience. And I think we're upon it. When you look at May of this year, which we just finished, at least in New York State, when you compare that to May of 2019, take 2020 out of it, they crushed records from 2019 in May of 2020 this year. So people are out, they want to travel, and I think just instilling the confidence that they can do it. Room rates are low, prices are good, and people have all that stimulus money, at least here in America, to go out and spend it if they've saved it up. So
Yeah.
May, June, July, it really looks great. And as Calvin said, Los Angeles, another area that was like New York City that had a lot of problems, they're just on the cusp of opening up. And I know that, it's exciting for our industry to be this close to a big recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just in Chicago this past weekend for an event, and it's the first event I went to, and I can't remember how long. And it was nice. It was like you said, it was refreshing to be around people and just kind of have a normal night. We didn't have masks on. I think most people there were still social distancing. We were safe as possible. And to the point about safety, I stayed in a couple of hotels while I was there, and each hotel had this sticker on the door to let you know that it had been freshly sanitized, and little things like the remote control being covered with a plastic bag. There were wipes in the room, and just these little touches to let you know that it's top of mind. But Laura, what do you see as the major challenges?
Well, obviously, I agree with what Mark said. I think creating at least the feeling of a safe environment, wherever that may be, whether that's in a hotel, it's in an airport, whether that's in an office environment as well, making sure that that people see that the environment is clean. And next to that, I think creating environments that are attractive for people to go to as well. Because last year, I think, well, you can see it from both ways. Last year obviously was dramatic, but one thing that was an advantage, or one of the side effects, was that suddenly organizations that did not allow people to work at home yet suddenly had no choice but to do it. And then what we hear as well is that quite a lot of people actually feel comfortable or start to feel comfortable working at home, that employers start to trust their employees as well for working at home. Now, that being said, sometimes maybe it can be too comfortable, and we need to make sure that people also return to any work environments that they originally had. So creating an environment that is attractive enough for people, and attractive is not only, I'm not only referring to design wise, but also attractive in ways where we offer services to people. So they actually come to an office environment, come to a hotel environment to work, come to any type of environment. Just make sure that you offer the services, whether that's a physical, environment that is attractive and that supports your needs in the best way possible, but also the services that come with that. I think that's definitely also a challenge in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely, and that leads me into another question that we had in our pre-conference meeting. You actually had a great quote, which I wrote down. You said, "Work is an activity, not a place." So how do we as an industry adjust to people working from different spaces, and how can we turn those people into hotel guests or restaurant guests?
Yes, it's definitely something that we see evolving. Everybody today is talking about a hybrid environment. So it will be a combination of things. People will come back to the office. I think anybody says that there will be no offices anymore is wrong. We won't have empty buildings. I think people will return to the office, but it will also be a combination of people coming to the office, working from home, maybe working in co-working areas, maybe working in hotel lobbies or specific environments that are organized within hotel environments that can offer that same support to people who might not want to work at home because of circumstances that they have at home, but might also don't want to commute to their offices anymore because they actually feel comfortable in the time that they gain with that. So it's definitely going to be a combination, I think, and it's the choice that is important, or that's going to, let's say, gain importance. Giving people the choice on where they want to work, what type of environment suits them best. Again, it's not going to be the same for everybody, because I read a lot of research where people say, oh, everybody's going back to the office and everybody's going to stay at home for 3 days, or everybody's going to work hybrid. It will always be depending on, what type of organization you are, what you offer, what type of employees you have, what type of company culture you have, and even on an individual level, you have people who love to work from home and you have others who hate it. So it's offering that choice to people that is going to be important. And I think specifically the hotel industry has an opportunity there to pick in on that maybe gap and offer something new and additional to these type of concepts.
Okay. Mark, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I got two. One, Calvin, you triggered something in my head when you started talking. Some of the questions I often get with the hotel business is, how has the pandemic changed and what's going to stay? Like, what type of cleaning protocols are going to wind up? They were instituted and they're always going to be there. And you mentioned two of them. One of the big one is the seal over the door. The Hiltons, the Marriotts, the high. If you go to one of those branded hotels, that just makes, it goes back to my first point about confidence. You walk up there, you have to break the seal. Once you're in your room, you're in there. I don't think that's ever going to go away. It gives people the sense of security that their room has been clean, no one else has been in it. So I think that, and also the remotes, which if you're not you probably a lot of hotels, that's the dirtiest thing in the hotel room. People don't realize it because everybody's touching it and they don't clean it while they clean the bathroom. So there's some things that are always going to stay to increase people's confidence traveling right out of the gate now, but I think those are always going to be part of the protocol going forward. So I think those are a couple of important things if you're a hotelier on this call. Even if you're not a brand and you're an independent hotel, a lot of our independent members have started to do that. Your larger boutique hotels, your independents, and I know Calvin probably stays in all types of different hotels. Even our 8 or 9 room B&Bs have said, hey, that's a great idea. We're going to continue to do that. So those are a couple of things that'll continue on. And then one of the things I'll talk about in bringing people back and people working hybrid and going to meetings, like we're doing a Zoom meeting now. Everybody's been on, an event that's in person here in New York State. For a while, you could do 50 people, social distance. The one that Calvin and I did in Westchester, 50 people, but then you have a segment that can log in remotely. We had a meeting today about this, and I think the remote aspect is good, but as people start to meet in person, there's a big expense to that if you're going to have AV and you're going to have people logging in. So there might be some hybrids to start, but I think over time, they're going to wind up being the in-person meetings that they were for the past 20 years, because if you're going to do it, and have an AV company in the hotel and you have some people, it gets expensive to do that. So, the goal is going to be, yes, they may have some hybrid events because people are still, like Laura said, more comfortable working from home. I want to stay at home and attend that conference, where you have other people saying, I need to talk to people. I need to be in front of people. So there's going to be that mixture. But I think over time, 6, 8, 10, 12 months, when there's a lot of confidence, people are really going to want to get back to meeting in person, having conferences in person, which is really the lifeblood of our members in the bigger hotels with conference space. I mean, they can't continue to go on with virtual meetings. And we've done board meetings virtually, and they were really well attended because people could just log in from their couch. But I think one of the things with people working hybrid, you can offer that. But just as a look out into the future, I think it's going to dissipate more and more as we get a little more comfortable going out and seeing people.
Yeah, totally agree. And to Laura's point earlier, there's no everybody doesn't do anything, right? No matter what it is, like everybody doesn't like ice cream. Could you imagine? I mean, ice cream is basically perfect, but everybody doesn't like it, right? So you need to have the choice. You need to have this kind of a hybrid model. I'm more of a face-to-face person. I would much rather be doing this in person if we could, right? But not really an option at the moment. Some people would rather just stay like this or even turn the camera off and just listen. So you need to have these options for people. I know we touched on safety, obviously, is probably the biggest concern for travelers coming out, and in my opinion, I think it's going to be as big as sustainability when you're trying to close business going forward. With my background in revenue, we do the RFPs, and you get these different groups that if you didn't have a nice green program that was acceptable for them, you weren't considered. In my opinion, I think safety is going to be just as big, if not bigger than that going forward, trying to close groups, conferences. What additional steps do you guys think we need to take as an industry to ensure that people feel safe in the spaces?
I think it's a lot of certifications, that are out there, Calvin, picking one that makes sense for your property, because I think people look and say, okay, this is to your point, like, LEED certified means, hey, I'm environmentally friendly. Here are the things that I do. I think I agree. That's going to be one of those things. How clean am I? What are my protocols for keeping the guests clean? And there's an array of those. The brands have their own. I know Hilton does. But everybody, there are also some on the private market that you would want to have that seal on the front door. It becomes something on your website. It becomes something at check-in. If you're not doing that now, you're going to want to really look into finding the program that works for you, because you're right. Environmentally friendly, something on the RFPs that groups look for. And I think now a group coming in, say an association like ours, that's going to do an annual summit somewhere. We want to make sure that we can relay to our members who are attending, this is a place that is going to be clean. These are their protocols. You're going to feel safe. You're going to be able to have face-to-face meetings and be confident. So I think a certification, whatever one, and again, not one size fits all. Like you said, some people like ice cream, some people don't. Some people like chocolate. There's not a one size fits all in that certification of cleanliness, but I think it's worth spending the money researching what makes sense for you, because you're going to draw more people when that event comes if they feel safe and you've promoted it properly.
Absolutely.
Yes, I definitely agree. I think standards, certifications, all these type of things, it can even become a marketing tool, I would say, for the industry. And what I really find, something that I noticed, obviously I don't work in the hotel industry, but because of my job, I used to travel a lot. What is interesting to me is that a lot of the activities that in this industry that were not supposed to be seen by guests have now turned visible and need to be visible. People want to see cleaners going around. People want to see that is an activity that is important, that is done on a frequent basis, etc. So that shift in making things visible, as opposed to, you didn't want to see the maids cleaning up the rooms. And now this is something so essential. So turning that, that shift to creating those activities visible, together with using those standards, certifications, etc., as a marketing tool, I think that's definitely, where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're exactly right. How comfortable do you feel when you see somebody cleaning in even if it's in the hotel lobby? I know in our office building, me personally, I always feel great when somebody comes in, and I don't know if they're doing a good job or not doing a good job, but there's somebody with wipes, there's somebody with a spray bottle. You go into the bathroom and there's somebody. You never saw those. They weren't doing that during the day. You're exactly right. That was a nighttime issue. Now they have the people coming during the day. Same with hotels. If you go in, there's somebody, in the bathroom. You're right. It's a visible thing within the business, whatever facility that is. That goes right back to the confidence people have in being in that space. You're exactly right. Didn't think of that, but I know when our guy comes in, I'm like, oh, good. He's here cleaning the doorknobs. We're in an office building. A lot of people come in and out, and you feel better. He might have just water in that bottle, but he makes me feel good that he's cleaning something.
Right.
Exactly. And even reporting on it, making it visible that X number of times this area is cleaned, making it visual to your guests, to your employees, to whoever is visiting your buildings and your environments. I think that's definitely going to be part of the communication to make sure that people feel safe and are willing to come to these type of environments.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like when you go in those public restrooms and it says, this is cleaned every hour, and you see someone, sign and put the time. It makes you feel like, okay, this is being taken care of. It again, to Mark's point, gives you that confidence that things are happening. So we actually have a couple questions from the audience. One that's very timely to what we're talking about right now. So I'll jump into this one. And this one is for Mark. Is putting in place the health and safety guidelines enough to get the guests back? As a hotelier, I expect lots to be done. I would appreciate what you can tell us to get the guests back. And is there some guidelines or case studies which the New York State Hospitality and Tourism Association has prepared member hotels to get business back?
Yeah, I think that's vitally important. And to Laura's point, to promote it. I think if you're doing certain types of cleaning protocols, and it lists them, and you can put that on your website. We don't have any case studies particularly on what has worked and what hasn't worked, but I know having the seal on the front door saying that have a certain certification and you're doing these certain things is vitally important. I think the seal over the door, that's one of the greatest inventions that came out of the pandemic. So I think, and you have to have a nationally recognized seal. There are a lot, and you're going to have to research what makes sense for your company. We actually, as an organization, have preferred partners in this space. And if you wanted to, I'll put my email in the chat here. But if you wanted to email me, I can tell you some of the partners that we have. I don't know them off the top of my head that have these programs for hoteliers. But I think it's important not only that you're doing it, but promoting it on your website, on your social media. And it's not going away. I mean, people talk about, what's going to happen this fall and winter as we get, it's summertime now. I mean, New York is not a warm place. It was 96 degrees here yesterday. Everybody's out. Nobody's wearing a mask. It's summertime. But come October, November here in the States, it's going to be 35 degrees. It's going to get cold. It's cold and flu season. You don't know what's going to happen then. So I think they're going to continue doing those, but I'll put my email in the chat, but I think you have to have a nationally recognized program so that if somebody goes on and Googles that program, they're going to see, how influential it is, the other products that they have, some of the other businesses that they work with. And then just to promote that, to give the confidence of the guest. I think you have to pick your own, and we don't have a case study, but I can share with you if you want to email me the partners that we have.
Great. So what else I wanted to get into here is many of us have worked through some other situations that have had a severe impact on the industry. Obviously, nothing to this extent, but Mark and I have. 9/11 would have been one example of something that had a severe impact on the industry. What suggestions do you have for the industry to expedite recovery? And I'll piggyback with a question from the audience here as well. Leisure travel seems to be back, but business travel still remains nearly non-existent and isn't expected to return to 2019 levels until 2022 or 2023. What can hotels do to get business travelers back as early as possible?
That's the dilemma, because that's going to be the slowest to come back. And again, it becomes people getting together and congregating and having a meeting. And I think those dates that you just expressed are right. You know, it's a long way off until, I mean, in New York State, there's a threshold of 250 people. If you have under that, you don't really need testing. You don't need to have it. But if you're over 250, you have to show a vaccination. You have to be able to prove that you had a negative test within 72 hours. So there's no silver bullet in that. It's going to be a long time coming back. It's going to be some successful meetings that people have had in bigger venues. I think one of the big things is going to be the concert venues this summer. If you can have concerts that are, you know, there's no outbreak because of them, I think that's going to be a big step forward. Amusement parks that here in New York State, if we can have a summer with the big amusement parks open and some bigger concerts that are outdoors, I think that'll lead to, okay, maybe we can do something inside. But for us, indoors is a big problem, and that's where the meetings have to take place. So I think we're a ways off, and I think they're going to incrementally come back. I think you're going to have a meeting of 100, and then, you know, for a while, and then a meeting of 150. It's going to be an incremental return. Like, for example, one of our members is the Javits Center in New York City. I mean, they can do 30,000 people at a meeting, and they have a car show coming up in the fall, but it's probably going to be half capacity, and see how that goes. So it's going to be a while to fill capacity, but it's going to be incremental, and hopefully nothing bad comes out of them and they can build on that.
Right.
But Calvin, your timing on that is about what we have heard too, and the studies bear out. You know, we're a couple years away from full recovery on it.
Agreed, and I would certainly agree on the group side of business travel. You know, it's going to take some time. I do think you can start to see probably some green shoots now in the individual business traveler. I mean, I personally have taken a couple of business trips in the past month, right? So I think you know, that is, I wouldn't, maybe not back to normal yet. I think the leisure, you know, leisure guest has just been kind of pent up. They've just been waiting for the doors to open so they can run out and get back on the road. Business travel, I think, is obviously a bit more intensive, you know, needing, you know, expense reports to be approved and trips and things like that. But I think your individual business travel will come back a little bit sooner than that. So for the person in the audience with that question, I would say you want to focus on what you did before to attract them. You know, make sure your rates, look at more dynamic pricing. You know, all of your accounts that had static pricing, you probably should have already gone back to them and give them a % off of bar and, you know, some value as things to entice them to come stay with you. But we do have a question just for you, Laura, because you got left out there at the last one. So we don't want you to feel too left out.
No worries.
This one is for you. Does renovation or redesigning of hotel spaces help in rebuilding guest confidence and induce them to book a hotel room or a casino?
Well, I wouldn't say that you need to rebuild your whole hotel, but at least think about how to create an environment that, you know, it's depending on your target audience that you have. What type of customer do you want to attract? I hear a lot of hotels who are, you know, trying to attract more of the business workers now. People, as I said, people who are not returning to the office but don't want to stay at home. So creating more environments that are more business wise, also nice lobbies where people can have great coffees, great, you know, lunches, breakfast, whatever, where you can have a quick, maybe more informal business meeting as well, but in a really nice environment, a little less, I would say, informal than a lot of the lobbies that we have today, but still informal enough to not make it as a business, like really an office environment. I do see those type of things happening. There's even hotels who really offer office space. Start to offer office space to potential visitors. So there's a lot of opportunities. It depends on who you want to attract, definitely. But yes, I think some redesigning is to be considered for sure, for sure.
Right, right. Yeah, and I like the point you made there about, kind of utilizing the space you have already.
Yes.
I've done quite a bit of that, on the road now with my business. I kind of work from hotel lobbies and restaurants and all over the place. And some of them, I do think there's opportunity. There's a hotel I was at a few weeks ago, and the music in the lobby was just loud, and you have to be cognizant of the fact that people are going to be in your lobby working and doing these type of meetings, Zoom meetings and things like that. Maybe turn that down during certain hours. But I think there needs to be a focused, looking at things a bit differently. Things that we all took for granted before, no one really cared about the lobby noise. Now you have more people in that space, so you need to be aware.
Yeah, and
Um,
there's some easy, quick wins in some cases. As you as well, I did some small business travels in the last couple of weeks, and in some hotels there's some they've installed some let's say small cabins almost where you can have a one-to-one conversation in
mhm.
almost a soundproof area, or you can have a longer phone call, in a soundproof, yeah, I would say a little cabin. That's really thinking of, of the business travelers' needs there in this case. And I think that's for me, that was really useful in my case. So I really appreciated that. Obviously, it's not going to be used by every hotel guest again, but those smaller quick wins, and as you say, also turning down the music volume, making sure that you have great connections everywhere, that
Mhm.
you can easily install yourself with your laptop somewhere. All these simple things, I think those are helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wanted to circle back to something Mark touched on in his first answer about employees and having enough employees um, at your properties to be able to welcome people back properly. But I think we all agree that hiring the right employee is the critical step to the recovery. What are you guys' thoughts on this current hiring crisis we're having in hospitality and how we can fix it? And I know it's a loaded question, so if we want to take the rest of the time to go on that one, we can take all the time we need.
Yeah, it is a loaded question because there's a couple of issues or variables out there that are making it so difficult to bring employees back. One is, people might not be still be a little bit of afraid of the virus and say, well, I'm not comfortable going back to work. The bigger problem that we have, at least here in the States, is the government is paying a lot stimulus packages that winds up going through the end of September, where
Mhm.
people are making more money than they probably made in many years. Some of our frontline employees, the most important people in the hotel, your front desk person, your cleaners, your housekeepers. So the incentive to go back to work isn't there right now. So
Mhm.
that's probably, those are the two reasons why they can't get people back to work. The other is, one of the things that our members have been doing is, incentivizing them with bonuses. Come back to work, there's $1,000 bonus right off the bat. If you're an amusement park worker, we'll give you a family 4 pass for the whole summer if you'll come back and work. So
Mhm.
they've had to incentivize a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of our members, and it's interesting because when September, at least here, when that stimulus money runs out, all those people are going to have to go back to work. So if our hotel members can get to September, we get right to your point, Calvin, that they're going to have the pick of there's so many employees out there looking then to come back to work. They're going to be able to pick the best people that fit with their business. So
Right.
I've had many of our bigger members that own multiple properties say, the employees right now are in the driver's seat. They can say, I don't feel like coming back. I'm doing better at home. Come September, when all the stimulus money stops and they have to go back to work, then the dynamics change and the hotel operators like, okay, well, if I have 10 people to interview, I'm only going to take the best 3 out of those 10. And it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic works. So what our people have been doing is incentivizing them. The sad thing about it is they're not able, and I mentioned earlier, some of our hotels can't have every room or every floor open right now, even though there's that demand, because they can't properly clean them. They don't have enough people to do that work. And, some of the restaurants are, while they can be open, 75% now, they can only open 4 days a week because they just don't have the people coming back to work. And finally on that, some of our resort areas with lakes and things that are on the ocean on Long Island here, at least on the eastern part of the US, they're not able to put their best foot forward. They might have all these new people coming who haven't traveled before, traveled there last summer. They come back and they can't put their best foot forward and help everybody have a great experience. So that's a scary part, without the employees to put your best foot forward and have a memorable experience and want to come back. But I think September, if folks can hang on and do enough business until September, the dynamic of hiring is definitely going to change at that point. But the tough thing is they got 3 or 4 busy summer months here to try to get through that. And they've been, working on more of the visa programs. They've been getting a lot of overseas workers to come in this year. I know one of our resort properties up north just got 45 foreign workers to come in just for the summertime. So the visa program has started to pick up. So if you can tap into the visa program, that's a great way to get employees, and then incentivize them, even though you might not want to. If you can get the number of employees and give them $1,000 bonus to start, but you can put more people in the hotel, you're going to make back that $1,000 real quick. So that's really some of the tricks of the trade that our members have been using.
Great. How about you, Lara?
Yeah, it is definitely challenging times if you're an employer, whether that's if you own or manage hotels or offices or companies. Definitely challenging times because there's so much choice for employees to pick from, and it is very difficult to stand out. So not only to retain an employee, but to attract the right ones, to your point, Mark. That is a challenge, and it's obviously I know a little bit about the US, but definitely in Europe and even in the Middle East, there is a huge challenge to attract the right people. I worked as a consultant before I was at IFMA, and I organized work environments of different kinds. And just to give you an example, one of the a huge pharmaceutical company, and it can relate to many industries here. A huge pharmaceutical company, which is usually a very well-paid sector. It is usually giving very good circumstances to its employees, very good high wages, etc., benefits, and they offer great career opportunities as well. And they had such a difficult time attracting the right people because the last step in their procedure to, before somebody signs the contract, was actually have them visiting their offices, their organizations, their environments. And that's where people just said, it's not going to work for me. That is huge. That is really big thing. So, and it's also related to creating that safe environment, to creating that environment where people think that they will feel comfortable, creating that company culture that suits, an employee, but also creating let's say, an environment or an atmosphere that is attractive, whether that's for an employee or a guest there. So I think that's definitely something we need to consider more, is what type of atmosphere are we creating where people feel comfortable and want to work? We'll have to stand out. We need to be different than a competitor. So what can we do to support that? And that goes for employees, but that also goes for guests. Where can we make the difference?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and that's actually I wanted to close on that question. So since you started it, I'll let you continue. Give us some closing thoughts on workplace culture and its importance.
Mhm. Yes, definitely. I think it's becoming more and more important, and definitely with the younger generations.
Hmm.
What I see, and we do a lot of research with workplace experts and even anthropologists. And what we see is that um, for younger generations, and I'm not going to generalize this, I'm not going to put any ages on it, but I would say younger generations, um, it's more important. The atmosphere and the working culture becomes more important than actually how much they're paid.
Hmm.
That is incredible. I remember my parents, they went for a job that paid well so they could support the family, we go on vacations, etc. In Nowadays, it's more important to create that working culture that gives you flexibility, that allows you to do other things as well than just going to work. That gives you the possibility to learn more, whether that's in the office or outside the office or in the environment that you work in or outside. So there's much more things and uh, that are important for people, going to the work environment that they are supposed to working than just being paid or just having a safe environment. It's a combination of things, and on top of that, it's also the services that you're providing to your employees. Um, for in Europe, for example, what is starting to become really a big thing is um, the food that you offer to your employees, making sure that they have healthy food, maybe also offer them things that they can bring home in the
So you
evening.
mean it's not just waffles where you are?
No,
You guys
well,
eat
no,
other things?
unfortunately not. Very rarely even. And not French fries either. But it's definitely something that is considered more. What type of services is that organization offering additional to the standards, uh, you know, that people take for granted nowadays?
Right, right.
Mhm.
Well, Mark, we only have about 3 minutes left, so I want to I'll let you wrap it up with your thoughts on that.
Sure. I think flexibility of scheduling is a big deal. The pandemic has kind of forced us into reevaluating how we operate. And I know in the hotel business, it's really get in there face to face. It's tough to work remote if you're a hotel employee. But I think I'll leave you with this. One of the big things from the hotel industry is cross training, being able to
Mm.
train in different areas. And Laura kind of hit on this. Hey, in the past, you walk in, you're a bellman, you're a front desk clerk. Okay, that's what I come in and I do for 8 hours a day. Now they'd like to cross train, learn different parts of the business, and that makes you're able to adapt to if somebody calls out or somebody's not available. It's always been part of the hotel industry, but now more than ever, cross training. So to keep the employee, they feel like they're always learning something new. They're growing. They might have a different opportunity to move up in another department, so they want to learn that. So I think flexibility and cross training in different parts of businesses is really what's sought out by the younger employees.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's always been important. I think that just helps the overall operation. The more you understand what somebody else has to do, the better it makes you at your job. I started out at the front desk, and I always felt that it made me a better revenue manager because you try not to put people in a walk situation. But there's the nature of the business of overselling and playing that game. But knowing that I've literally had to do that, it makes you a little bit more conscious of what the front desk is going through, what housekeeping is going through. So you really try not to put that strain on the operation. So I think cross training is key, and I think it gives people a bit of motivation to come to work because they feel like they're learning something. They're actually
Mhm.
going somewhere as opposed to just coming in, punching the clock, doing a job and leaving. And I think most people want that. So Great answers here. I think we're just about ready to wrap up. Great panel today. I think we could have gone on for another hour on this. So thank you both for your great answers. Just so everybody knows in the audience, post session, you can join us on the event platform at events.trulyexpo.com for networking. And I'm getting some more messages here. Thank you everyone for your insights. It's very encouraging. And please join us again tomorrow as we have a lot more sessions coming your way. See you tomorrow.